Hey everyone, welcome to another step on the journey. I'm on my way to the Strikers Inc. office to find out how the commentator system works in the game. That's to say, how it functions from a technical standpoint and also how it works from a creative perspective. I expect there'll be a lot of people as well as lots of content. Let's go, and keep hitting those likes and subscribe.
L'arbitre siffle et le match commence.
Ja, was ist das? Da ist die Hand am Ball.
This is a part of the system we've set up too.
So the referee has given the foul, but doesn't think it deserves a card. He knows best.
Something happens on the field, and all possible events are carefully categorized.
It's a pile driver.
Da hat nicht viel gefehlt.
Le coup de canon.
Ох, як небезпечно!
Humbolide.
Оце так бахнув!
Que cañonazo. Uma bomba.
Vurdu! Мощнейший удар!
Tasdida صاروخية. Ajudou o time. Defendeu, mas a bola ainda está em jogo.
When there's nothing to say,
When there's nothing to say.
there's never nothing.
When nothing's happening. We switch on the nothing to say lines.
Yeah, these guys, they're ready for anything. There's never a moment where they have nothing to say. From the technical point of view, the whole system gets initiated quite simply. We have a long list of events that could happen out on the pitch. A shot, a save, possessions won or lost, or there's a tactical event, for example, an attack starts or breaks down. These are all events that could happen, so we have them all covered. And in parallel with them, there's another thing, which is the match context. Yes, the match ended, but what was the context? What were the details? What was the score? How many players got injured? How many substitutions were made? This way, by applying the events to the conditions, the system creates a kind of dialogue. That means the game engine refers to the audio engine and plays the necessary line, just how the guys wrote it. The text that has been written and recorded for that combination is what will be played.
Can I ask you to show us something from your working material? Like, for example, how you trigger different phrases. I'd love to see how it actually works in real life.
Yeah, sure, I think so.
You're very welcome.
Excellent.
You see it in the quality of the USA national team. Some really good players and new stars like Christian Pulisic.
The ref's given a penalty. The ref's given a penalty. The ref's given a penalty.
Let's start with how the system is configured and show the setup assets first. That's your territory, Anton. Show us the magic.
Okay, here goes. Among the settings for each event, we define the chances of hearing commentary. That means we decide how often a certain comment will be played, or whether it will be played at all. Here you can see several fouls happening, dependent on the situation playing out on the pitch. And in terms of this particular event, we're selecting both the regularity and the probability of the comment.
We've already talked about the grid, right? There are events that occur and there are conditions when those events happen. At the intersections of these events and conditions, the game designers place nodes. That's where they define settings. Take a neutral event, a pass was made. But Anton or I or anyone can add detail, like a specific game time, for example. If that pass occurs in a neutral context with no conditions, then the commentator says something general like, well, there was a pass. But when, for example, a pass happens in the second half of the match, or it was a pass where a huge goal difference separates the two teams, then the details get more specific.
And how many boxes can be checked at the same time?
All of them.
You mean nothing will crash, and there'll be a specific line that'll consider all of these contexts simultaneously?
Not only that, we know that there will be many moments in matches where there could be several fitting lines, and they will potentially compete with each other. At this point, it's down to us to decide which piece of information is most important and whether one comment should be played in place of another. This depends on its level of importance and whether it is in a cooldown period. In other words, if it's recently been triggered, it would go to the back of the line.
Et le match commence. Le coup de sifflet retentit, c'est parti.
Він лишається на полі. Без страшних наслідків обійшлося.
Let's talk about updates. We really wanted to keep our text up to date and topical. That is, we aim to have quite a lot of commentary dedicated to what's happening right now in the world of football. When we started writing the commentary text a couple of years ago, 3 years ago to be exact, the main topic of our conversations was, of course, how COVID affected the game, and about how matches are being played in empty stadiums. Then it started to develop. It changed, and obviously every 6 months, after each transfer window closes, we redo the text and will continue to do so. That way, we can build in the little conversations we always hear about the wider game that can fill the void when no one's on the attack, or when one team's playing keep ball. This gives us the chance to talk about life around football and current affairs. It's important to note that all our language teams write their own news. So I think it'll be cool for anyone playing in different languages. They'll all hear different versions. So it's like the Spanish team write about Spanish events, while the French team will be writing about things that currently interest the French. And I mean things not necessarily just related to French football either, and so on.
And if someone asked you to describe the key challenge of commentating in a football simulator, would it be the emotional part? You know, the idea that you have to create those feelings without there being a real game.
Your voice wears out. The main rule was always each session should last no more than 3 hours. Somewhere between 2 and 3 hours, that's the ideal. It's the best time range both physiologically as well as for engagement. Besides, in each one of those 3 hours, you're going to feel different. In the first hour, you're all energized and sparky. Into the second hour, and you're feeling more settled, and then you get a second wind. You're powering through, you know, like, let's go do this.
І ось перший пас. Наш матч розпочинається.
Мяркую, ўжо з першых хвілін можна чакаць вынаходлівай гульні ў наступе.
Kann hier in Ruhe Marsch nehmen.
Eu sou Gutenberg Barros e a partir de agora teremos uma batalha épica das duas equipes mais fortes do campeonato.
Would it be okay for me to check a couple of random boxes and listen to what we'll play?
Yeah, we can do that.
You can take a pause if you need to adjust things.
Of course.
Cool, so we'll use a foul as an example, okay?
Sure. Let's use a foul.
Should we talk about this panel?
Wait, that's how many events you've got so far? Can you scroll down to the end for us?
Yep, loads of them.
Wow. Pass, tactics, goal kicks, stadium announcer. Amazing. Okay, carry on.
Multiply every event by 5, 15, or 20 variations for each one, and then multiply that by the number of languages, and the list of languages isn't final, by the way.
Can I choose another one? Something different?
Of course. Scroll through the list. Help yourself.
Let's say I want...
Take your pick, whatever catches your eye.
What's this? Player substitution in both teams? Sounds good. I've decided I want both teams to make a substitution at the same time.
Cool. And we're into duplicates. You see, we've labelled events like that as what we're calling persistent. That means in situations like this example of both team substitutions, we need to tackle duplicates. We've already talked about this, I know, but looking at what it says here, it's telling us that Tactic V12 in neutral conditions but variation 18 has already been played in the game. In other words, that means we can't play it again in this match.
Est-ce que vous vous rappelez quand on voulait déjà changer les règles? Un carton vert avait été expérimenté pour récompenser les comportements fair-play.
He scores! They've opened their account. He's given them the lead.
So you're talking about the value of having different people who can make predictions, which allows you to look into the future and introduce things into the game. Can we shift focus slightly, because neural networks are obviously very topical today? What do you think about it all? Will it eventually take your job? I mean, at some point a very smart neural network will come along that can voice and understand, without your help, which new phrases to add and so on.
And even play with itself, yeah. At the moment, I don't think anything can really replace live voiceovers. I mean, it goes without saying that there are many wonderful, amazing teams, ones I know of, who are working on advanced AI voiceover systems, and they do have extraordinary results. But still, as far as I know, no system is currently able to give us a result that can seriously be compared to a voiceover artist or commentator, whether it's in terms of their voice, intonations, emotions, delivery, and even flaws. What I mean is, when, like us, you move away from the more straightforward, technical, or formal text, AI falls kind of short. And while in English, dubbing stuff is improving pretty fast, in other languages, where they don't have such a vast amount of recorded and processed texts, AI is not quite at the same level.
What Katja mentioned regarding imperfection, that's one of the big aspects we want to achieve. For a start, a football simulator is like a simulacrum. It's a simulation of a football broadcast. But that, in turn, isn't an actual football match either, is it? It's just the image that we view on the TV. And on top of that, it's an imperfect image. And that's what we're aiming to perfect. We want to create a genuine sense of real life. Our colleagues have talked about it in one of the previous Journey episodes. And as they said, the camera should shake a bit to make it real. Here are the phrases used by the commentators, for example. They should also reflect a sense of realism. And to be honest, that's the ultimate goal for our team, for all the different people working on it, everyone in different studios, in different countries who've often never even met before, or if they're lucky, they may have seen each other on a screen in a virtual call. All our teamwork is building towards this ideal result, that the broadcast, no matter from which language, will sound natural. You know, all those repetitive, a pass goes to the left wing that you hear, I don't know, maybe 300 times a day when you're playing countless matches. We're working so that every time you hear it in our game, in combination with the phrases around it, the statement will sound as if you've never heard it before, just like the real thing.
L'attaque en gauche, c'est bien joué, et c'est son équipe qui contrôle le ballon maintenant.
Nothing special from the keeper today. A sad stat, he's let in more goals than he's stopped shots.
Some events occur extremely rarely, but they still happen, so we can't simply ignore them. Things like a completely random own goal, or the goalkeeper carries the ball into his own net. It happens, so we absolutely must comment on it.
Tries something different and loses out. What's an awful error from the keeper. That should never have gone in.
Er musste hier schon mehrmals hinter sich greifen und man kann leider nicht behaupten, das wären alles Unhaltbare gewesen.
Another important issue is jokes that commentators might come up with during real matches, which they sometimes do. That's a tricky issue when you're trying to create real-life commentary in the game to replicate live commentary. Firstly, when you're commentating live, you follow the mood of the match. But when you record lines for a video game, they'll pop up and collide with other lines in a totally random way. Since the recording sessions are spread out over a number of days, we need to tune into what was recorded before and keep the same overall tone. That way, each line can fit alongside any other and not sound weird. But as I was saying about jokes, which, by the way, I think are cool, unique, and always topical in real-life commentary, in a video game, they quickly become repetitive. In real life, you'll watch a live match once. Yes, you might watch it on catch-up or again on a recording, but that's all. When you're playing a simulator and you play, for example, 5 matches in a row daily for a week, there's every chance you'll hear the same joke. And it definitely won't be topical.
The system is designed really well from the standpoint of how its logic works. And with the architecture set up the way it is, it allows us to simply add new lines without rewriting any code. So we know there are events to commentate on the pitch. They are all categorized, and each one is triggered based entirely on the events that precede it. That means there's an extremely high level of variability, not to mention the fact that it's always unique. It's like some huge tree with branches fanning out. Each subsequent event depends on the previous events. And we consider random things, like when an outfield player receives a yellow card in the first half, and then, with that context, we might say different things when, for instance, he's subsequently in the penalty box.
Huh, a tired player. Can I hear that?
Covered every blade of grass today.
Cool, and a few more, please. Oh, that's what I've been wondering about. When there are major tactical changes, like a player who starts in the center then is switched out onto the wing, this happens quite often with attackers.
Play moves over to the right.
And this one. Last one, honest.
It looks pretty nasty. The player's down. He can't go on, but there's no whistle. Ref's unimpressed.
Amazing. I'm absolutely blown away. I didn't realize that it's so complex and yet interconnected. It's amazing how well you've organized it. Seems so simple. It's just letters for each condition and just a list of events, but I'm kind of speechless. It's really like, wow. Anything else you can show me?
You've seen a lot. I think that's probably enough for now.
You know, Tigran, you're scrolling through and asking all these questions. I actually work with the commentators, but even I watch and think, can we really do that? Wow, cool!
Cool indeed. This has been so interesting, and not just for me, I can tell you. Thanks so much.
Gol messo a segno dagli ospiti! Rete! Trovano il gol che consente loro di mettere la testa avanti.
The match is finished.
And a good match it was for the hosts. They deserve this win.
Er sitzt. Jetzt steht's